Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to Season 15 of the Attrition Sim Race Campus Oval Series presented by SM Racing Products. Today we are here at the lovely Daytona International Speedway for round number 5 of the season for the Daytona 100, not to be short, confused with the Daytona 125 that opened up our season back in season number 14. Opened up back in 1959, of course. Third time that ASRC has raced on the oval. 22nd time the track has been visited. Of course, it's been visited plenty and plenty and plenty of times by the various road racing series that ASRC has hosted since 2017, but only the third time that the league has gone to the oval, with the second being just last season for the opener with the Daytona 125, which was won by none other than Carl Felver. In the real world, this second race at Daytona, that would have been the Firecracker 400, was won by none other than Mr. Greg Biffle. Tonight, though, we got 11 drivers on the starting grid for today's race. Any single one of them could be the drivers taking home the race win here tonight. So how about we take a look down at our starting lineup and see how things will be shaking out here this evening. Starting out on the pole here, a driver we've only been seen once or twice this season, a part-timer running here, four-time league champion in the ASRC Oval Series. That's going to be none other than the Nihon Tiger number 85 of Mr. Brian Sabelski. Starting to his outside in an equally white and orange car, that's going to be none other than League Administrator Mr. Jason Gardner, the driver that makes everything happen here in the Oval Series, starting off in position number 2. Back in P number 3, that's going to be Mr. Derek Murphy in the 78 with one of his best starting qualifications so far here this season, with none other than the 38 Liqui Moly entry of Brandon Feeney starting off position number 4. Back in 5th, another solid qualifying run for the CZ Robotics 24 of Corey Logan back in 5th, with rookie driver John Calzo in the number 2 machine with no sponsor on it, making his first appearance with the league in position number 6. Back in 7th, that's going to be the number 45 K9P Racing entry of, or no, excuse me, that's actually the branded number 45 of Mark Kluge. He is part of the K9P Racing team, but he is not the driver of the K9P Racing car. That's going to be Joshua Rudolph starting just behind him in the 188. But starting his outside in the 09, that's going to be the iRacing 09 of Benjamin Harsty. Then, of course, Joshua Rudolph in the 188 back in 9th. Back in 10th, a previous champion here in the series making his first start here this season. Pretty much taking a break from the iRacing platform, but said he had to come back for Daytona, running in that very special 00 WinRAR entry here tonight. He's going to be rolling off position number 10. Then back at the tail end of the field, the Mooselander Racing number 4. That's going to be the STP entry of Daniel Sparks, rounding out the tail end of the field here this season. So that's how we are going to be rounding things out for our 40-lap event here at the Daytona International Speedway. The pace car is getting ready to take its dive on down to the safety of pit lane, and we will get this thing rolling here for the Daytona 100. Pace car is off. Brian Zabelski will lead the field through the green Geico restart zone to the green flag, and green flag up in the air just like that. Everyone rising up through the gears without really any sort of difficulty here. No wheel spins on the start like we've seen the last couple of races throughout this season. And so by far, it looks like the inside line's having a much better go of things than the outside line is. Jason Gardner is leading the field on the high line with Feeney following just behind. But otherwise, further on back from around John Caslow on back, having a bit of trouble there on that initial start. But they are starting to form back up here. As Jason Gardner is going to move down to the low line, he will secure the race lead here for lap number 1. Feeney still sticking it up to the high line, trying to hope that the high side might get a little bit more momentum, but Sabelski is going to jump up there in front of that 38 machine, see if he can't make something work for him on the high line here as well. Still side by side for the race lead. Sabelski has the advantage. He's going to come back down in front of Jason Gardner. He's going to pull the same move that Gardner just did on him last lap. And still Feeney hangs on to the front of the outside row, waiting to see if he can't make it come in here at all. Working it the best he can. He's gotten up to position number 2, so he does have a little bit of an edge above Jason Gardner, but it does look like they're side by side, and on corner entering to 3 and 4, he is losing ground there in that 38 machine. Of course, here to Super Speedway like this, it's going to be all pack racing here tonight. And once we get green flag pit stops, white might be where things get a little bit interesting. Provided, of course, that we do get green flag pit stops. Of course, it is Daytona. Anything is possible, especially even with only 11 cars. It's still very much possible to have a big one here at Daytona. So we'll just have to see how things play out. So far, drivers being pretty patient, pretty even with themselves. John Caslow in that number 2 getting a little bit of a wiggle as he catches up to the 38 of Brandon Feeney, but Feeney is falling back. The outside line really only consisting of 3 cars now. Feeney, Caslow, and Hess in the 00 a little bit further back. Driver out of Mechanicsville, Maryland at the tail end of that field. A former champion here in the league, so multiple former champions here in the ASRC Oval Series competing in tonight's race. We have the 85 of Sabelski, and then we have the 00 of Hess. Feeney as well, the current points leader in the championship, and a runner-up in one of our previous championships as well in that 38 machine. So a lot of talented drivers here in this field. And so far, everyone is still doing a pretty good job of keeping pace with each other in this initial pack. No one has fallen away and lost that draft. And I'll tell you what, race fans here. Uh-oh, we have trouble. There's a car around. That is Joshua Rudolph in the 188. Hard in the outside wall, off the speedway, in the grass. The green flag is still out on the speedway since this was at the tail end of the field. He's going to try and bring it back on track here, and he is able to do so. Green flag still up as the rest of the field races to the line. Looks like Mark Kluge and the 45, Daniel Sparks, both checked up for that incident a little bit. They might be out of drafting range at this distance, and that may prove to be catastrophic for them unless the field gets stacked back up under the yellow flag. Joshua Rudolph has taken the tow down to pit lane. We're going to continue to follow the action here for just a moment and see if we can't get a little bit of breathing room to take a look back at that incident, as Brandon Feeney currently leads the field side by side with Brian Sabelski. Sabelski looking like he's going to have the advantage here down the front straightaway. And no, now it's Feeney. Feeney will be scored as leading at least one lap here this evening, so that will be a bonus point in the back pocket of our championship leader coming into tonight's event. Still side by side for your first 3 rows, but it's getting a little bit wiggle wobbly there, especially up on the high line. Drivers are skating around, dancing here just a little bit. Big wiggle out of the 24, Corey Logan back in 7th right now. But still 2 by 2 by 2 for your first 3 rows. Feeney and Sabelski, your front row. Then it's going to be Harsty and Gardner, then Hess and Murphy, making up that main lead pack battle here. As we take a look down at the track map here real quick, you can see, looks like Kluge was able to catch back up to the pack, but Michael Sparks has fallen down to a 4.6 second gap, and you can just see the speed difference right now between those drivers. As currently, these drivers in the draft all going in the realm of 195 miles per hour. Daniel Sparks currently reaching a top speed of about 180 as we have 1 car in the grass. That is Corey Logan getting pushed down into the grass there just a little bit. Corey losing some ground. Corey may be out of the draft now. Yes, Corey has lost the draft just like that. That is another driver that now finds themselves in an incredibly difficult situation here if this race continues to go green. So far, so good up at the front, though. Derek Murphy falling back just a little bit, but he's going to bring it back into formation now. So back to 3 rows of 2 for your front runners. But now only Caslow and Kluge remain here in the lead pack. They're sort of trying to form a 4th row, but they're not quite up and close as the way our top 6 drivers currently running are doing right now, as they still continue to duke it out here. And it looks like right now the inside line does have a little bit of an advantage. A little bit of slide out of the corner for Sabelski, but he gets it straightened back up, continues to run the bottom line as he leads the field. And currently he is clear of Feeney. And I say that Feeney actually comes back. The outside line gets a little bit more momentum to play with here. Coming up into the corner, so far so good. As now we see the bottom line get a little bit more support. Both Booge and Kaslow electing to go with the bottom line. So does Feeney as he holds onto the race lean over Sabelski. He's going to go back up to the high line there. A little bit of contact between Harsty and Sabelski there as well. That was a little bit scary to see. But crossing the line onto lap number 10, a quarter of the way through tonight's event. So far, so good, but things are starting to look a little bit squirrely up here for your front runners in tonight's event. As we once again see the bottom line now start to get the advantage. Sabelski thinks about coming up, decides against it, and probably for the best, as that outside line's getting some momentum to run up to the front. You don't want to make a bad block when you're at the front of this field. Otherwise, everything's going to fall apart very quickly, not just for yourself, but for pretty much every other driver in the field here as well. But we've made it one quarter through the race without any sort of cautions. We did have that handful of incidents in the earlier goings of things. I'm going to regret saying this, but I think we've got just enough breathing room to take a look back and see what happened to Joshua Rudolph to have that hard impact in the outside wall. So this is back on lap number 4. Actually a little bit too far back, so let's jump back just a little bit further to try and get a better view of this. Looking down at Joshua Rudolph in the 188. And oh, he actually, there's a little bit of checkup with the 45, and that gets him on the brakes, and then everything just kind of fell apart from there as he got a little bit of help from Daniel Sparks, and that's what sent him down into the infield there. Back up at the front, things have single filed out for the race lead. No more 2x2 racing. Things have gone into freight train formation, and it looks like there's been a little bit of trouble because Sabelski has lost a full second of ground here. I'm not seeing any sorts of incidents being recorded in the log here, as we're now back 2x2 with Feeney and Harsty battling it out. Garrett Hess on that 00 up here in this battle as well. Pushing up a little bit through the corner. Almost looked like he was thinking about taking it 3 wide, but that is not going to be the case for the driver of that WinRAR entry. Joshua Rudolph looks like he's stopped down at the entrance to pit lane. He is big time off the pace here. That car might have picked up more damage somewhere. Definitely a bit of damage to the nose of the car, but I'm not sure if he got that fixed or not after that initial impact back on lap number 4, but he is going to bring it back down onto pit lane here. As the outside line decides they're going all the way up to the wall here this evening. It's just Harsty and Hess making up that outside line now. Everyone else down on the bottom, but they are going to make it work. They're almost up in front of the race lead. Harsty actually does take the race lead, and he's going to come down and block the bottom, which is probably the best move he can make there. Try and use the bottom line's energy to work with here. And now we see just Hess, now with the assistance of Mark Kluge, trying to put the outside lane together. These drivers are doing their best to try and keep it 2x2 this entire race, it seems like. And now we do see Sabelski at least able to catch back up to the pack, which I was a little afraid he wasn't going to be able to do because he had a full second deficit to the pack for the time being there, but was able to work together with the other cars that checked up along with them. Was able to catch back up here, and we now start to see things getting a little bit squirrely up here for the race lead here. That looked like Feeney was down on the apron there for just a brief moment, was able to save it. But things are getting feisty here this evening in Daytona. A lot of these drivers know that Daytona is a very unique chance to try and take home a race win. Just with the nature of how this plate racing works, you have a lot better chances of success than you sometimes do at other styles of tracks. And right now, everyone in our top 8 still within a second of the race leader. Corey Logan, Michael Sparks, both still on the lead lap. Or actually, no, Daniel Sparks, excuse me, both still on the lead lap. Of course, 22 seconds back from the pack. There's not going to be any way to make that up without the help of a caution flag at this point. Starting a single file back up here just a little bit. Mark Kluge still up on the outside line, but at this rate it's looking more like he's just stuck up there than really wanting to be up there. Will we see anyone decide to go up and help? Right now looks like the answer is going to be no. Hess, Harsty, Feeney, Gardner all sticking it down on the bottom. Sabelski decides to go and pie out of the corner, but decides against it, goes back down to the bottom himself. So that's just going to leave Kluge to kind of get hung out to dry here. Let's take a look down. Let's ride on board with Mr. Brian Sabelski. See what all of the action and all of the drama looks like from the driver's perspective here in this event. As you can see, reaching 190 miles per hour down the straightaways, still keeping 189 through the corners. Right now, Brian Sabelski actually has the highest top speed of any driver. He was able to hit 200 at one point in this race. Everyone else between 197 and 199, it looks like. But some seriously intense speeds all throughout the field here this evening as we reach the 24 to go marker. So we are halfway here through tonight's event at Daytona. One of the first evening races we have had here this season, and beautiful to see this track under the lights. See everyone single filing it out now. I think drivers are probably going to start getting ready to think about pitting here soon, and in a case like Daytona where the draft is so important, you pretty much have to have buddies to pit with if you want any chance of success. And since there's not really any manufacturer loyalty to worry about here in the virtual iRacing arena, everyone is just driving the Gen 4 car with no specific affiliations. I'd imagine we're going to see basically the entire field all come down pit lane at the same time, because they really don't have any other choice unless teammates talk to each other and made plans before the race. They don't really have much of a choice but to all pit together. And I'm not really seeing any teammates all throughout the field here except for the two K9P drivers of Mark Kluge and Joshua Rudolph, and Rudolph has been down on pit lane for 5 minutes now, so I don't think Rudolph is going to be getting back into this. But still keeping it all single file here with 21 to go. Garrett Hess leads the way, up +9 from where he qualified here this evening. Benjamin Harsty in the 09, up +6. Feeney up +1. Kluge up +3. Everyone else in the field has lost positions right now. It looks like Gardner's down -3, Sabelski down 5, Murphy down 4, Kaslow down 2, and Logan down 4. Really, everyone's been pretty patient with each other here this evening, especially up at the front. Everyone has been, for the most part, very polite with each other, and really no major incidents to worry about. No caution flags here this evening. Garrett Hess, now your race leader, but I don't think he's going to get scored as the leader for that time across the line as he goes up to the high line. Decides to drop down and let some other folks lead for a while, so Benjamin Harsty will be taking the race lead again as he pretty much just sinks on back, probably all the way to the tail end of this pack, unless he tries to file in between Gardner and Sabelski, but it looks like that's not going to happen. He's just going to keep it up on the high line. I think he is content with falling all the way back to the back of this pack. I think he might be worried that things might get a little bit too spicy up here in this battle for the race lead, and he doesn't want to be up at the front when the big one happens. The 19 to go here at Daytona. We are getting into the closing chapters here of tonight's event. Especially now that we're only halfway. I just realized my math was wrong. This is not a 50-lap event. It's only 40 laps. So now we are officially halfway through tonight's event. And Benjamin Harsty so far been putting on a very solid performance. Really everyone here in the top 8 has been doing really well right now. Everyone up here has been trading positions, had their shots to try and lead this race, or at least attempt to pick up that bonus point for the championship overall. Of course, right now, things are really kind of all over the place. Here in the 2024 Season 3 Championships, or just Season number 15, this 12-week stretch that we are on round 5 of, Brandon Feeney is the points leader with a 20-point lead over Mark Royce, who has a 29-point lead over Corey Logan. So Corey third here in the Season number 15 Championship. Then Mark Kluge back in 4th, Joshua Rudolph back in 5th for that. In the overall 2024 championship, though, Feeney is the points leader with 174 points over Corey Logan. And Corey, runner-up here right now in the point standings in 2024, going to show that sometimes it's just a matter of persistence and perseverance, because right now they are leading over everyone except Feeney. Got an 18-point lead over Joshua Rudolph in 3rd. Then Garrett Streets is back in 4th, 31 points back. Jason Gardner being in 5th for that overall 2024 championship. Garrett has still keeping it up to the high line so far here this evening. It seems like that's just really where he likes running the car. And he does actually have some help up there in the form of Harsty and of Caslow in that white and blue gradient number 2 machine. I feel like Caslow, a driver really we haven't talked about enough here tonight. This is a rookie driver making his debut appearance with the league in an unsponsored car. Currently running in 5th, but if that outside line gets some momentum going with it, we might see this rookie driver running up inside the podium again. And this pack has multiple championship contenders and past championships in it. So far, a really solid appearance for the driver of that number 2 machine. Making his way up, still up in 5th here, a little bit farther back from our 2 leaders in this upper lane here. But it seems like everyone's done being patient with each other. We've just gone straight on back to 2x2, duking it out for every possible lap led. Because, of course, aside from the bonus points for leading singular laps, there's also the bonus points for leading the most laps of the races. Feeney drifts up way up to the high side. Running side by side with Hess here. Hess being scored as your new race leader in that WinRAR 00 for the time being. But of course, that's not going to last long with how this outside line has been doing. It's just going to keep on trading back and forth for presumably a good chunk of the rest of this race. They are eventually going to have to pit. They can't go the entire race without pitting. That much I feel pretty confident in saying. But it looks like up until the pit window opens, they're just going to be at each other's throats all the way around. They are starting to come up on some lap traffic of that CZ Robotics 24 of Corey Logan. Of course, unfortunately, lost the draft earlier in the goings of tonight's race, so that will potentially break this pack up a little bit as everyone more or less has to swerve to avoid. And you can see everyone has gone single file here now as they catch up to the brown, black, and green CZ Robotics 24. I imagine everyone's going to try and go up to the high line here. Yes, they are. Feeney stays down to the bottom. Now he goes ahead and moves on up as Corey keeps it down to the bottom. Now immediately everyone's scrambling to get back down to the bottom of the racetrack as soon as they get around that lapped car. They're running back to Kluge, able to do it without issue. Gardner still stuck side by side. Kaslow just behind. So is Sabelski and Murphy as well, trying to work their way around the lap traffic here this evening, and that is definitely disrupting the flow of the pack here just a little bit. Gardner manages to clear the 24. Next up is Kaslow. Kaslow now side by side with Logan, not able to make it work. Dives back down to the bottom to try and pick up a little bit of draft to try and make some sort of move happen. Hits the outside wall here. And Sabelski actually goes down to the apron to be safe. That is going to cast Kaslow a couple of spots there. And he's going to have to foul back down to the bottom if he doesn't want to lose this draft. And unfortunately, it looks like that is exactly what's going to happen here. He pretty much already is far enough back to not be able to keep the draft. It's gone up to 0.8 of a second now. I don't think he's going to be able to catch that. Not without that lap down number 4 of Daniel Sparks giving him a push and helping him out. I don't think they're going to be able to catch the draft here. Very unfortunate for the driver of that number 2 machine. All it was a little bit of a scrape, and they might actually be... No, I am mistaken. It looks like they're actually going to be able to get the draft back here, so they are not out of this battle after all. Has it down to about 0.2 of a second, and sure enough, they are back in this battle for this main lead pack here. Garrett Hess leads the way, Harsty back in second, Feeney in third. But this whole pack is all bunched back up. Joshua Rudolph still down on pit lane, 13 minutes down there. But everyone else, including both lapped cars, are now a part of this pack. And something interesting to note, Corey Logan and Daniel Sparks are both 1 lap down. So they are actually battling for the lucky dog position within this pack. And sure enough, we're going to see everyone making the call to come down pit lane here, except Jason Gardner. Jason elects to stay out. Last minute, Harsty comes out as well. Corey Logan down in the grass as well. It looks like we had... I don't know if we had a couple of second guessers or if there was some trouble down on pit lane, but most of the field has committed to the bit. They are all still down there. Feeney comes down, Sabelski, Murphy, Kluge, Hess, Sparks, and Rudolph all down on pit lane. Kaslow, Gardner, and Harsty are still out. And honestly, we might see Harsty get hit with a penalty there. I'm not 100% sure on that. We don't really have any way to tell if they get black flagged or not, other than if they spend an unusual amount of time down on pit lane. Fair enough, now we're going to see Gardner come down pit lane. Kaslow coming down as well. So does Harsty. And it looks like, oh, Harsty losing control of the car a little bit. Scrapes against the inside of pit lane. But everyone makes it down into pit lane without too much incident. So we're going to take a look back, see if we can't get a better idea of what all just happened there when we started having everyone come on down into pit lane. So we're going to start taking a look down at Harsty first. Trying to slow down. And I think he just realized he couldn't get the car slowed down enough and decided against it. But that then begs the question of what happened to Corey Logan there. Coming down to pit lane, so far so good. Oh, locks up the tires. So just a matter of locking up the tires for Corey Logan. But everyone is back out on the racing surface now. Jason Gardner is leading the way with a pretty considerable lead, but it's not going to last because this pack of cars that's all bunched up together is going to have a lot more momentum than he does. He's going to have to try and catch up the draft here. With 9 laps left to go, it's going to be Derek Murphy, Garrett Hess, Brandon Feeney, Mark Kluge, Jason Gardner. Your 5 cars still in the lead pack as we have a driver off the track. Kaslow went off the speedway there for a minute. Kaslow is slow down on the apron, but he's getting up to speed, and it looks like the green flag is still out. We're going to take a quick look back to see what happened to him right quick. Stuck up on the high line up against the wall, and then the car just snaps down into the grass. But able to save it. So the caution flag does not fly. He is going to bring it down to pit lane, though. Back up to the front, though, going to be 8 to go. And Derek Murphy leads the way in the number 78. Feeney just behind. Hess just behind as well, trying to make the outside line work with the help of Kluge and Gardner up there. Now 7 to go here at Daytona, here at this 2.5 mile speedway. Very rapidly approaching the end of tonight's event, and I'll tell you what, a caution-free race, not without incident, but caution-free, still a very impressive display by these drivers as Gardner makes a big move down to the bottom of the track to follow through with Feeney. Derek Murphy still leading the way in that 78 machine. He's going to go back down to the bottom line. He is trying with everything he's got here to stay up at the front. I believe this would be Murphy's first league win if he were to manage to pull this off, and he is trying with all of his might here. And they are starting to come up on a lapped car, I believe. Not quite sure who that is, but I believe they are coming up on a little bit of traffic here. Sure enough, that is the Nihon Tiger 85 of Brian Sabelski that they are coming up on right now. So he will be put a lap down, but he should be able to catch the back of the pack here. And that will at least put him in the lucky dog position if we get any late race theatrics here. He's going to pull up to the high side here. And now it is still Derek Murphy leading the way. Feeney goes up to the high side. Hess goes down to the bottom. That was a very scary move by several drivers all at the same time, but we got the big high five up in the air. 5 laps left to go at Daytona. 5 cars duking it out with everything they've got up here. Benjamin Harsty still on the lead lap, but 16 seconds back. Then it's Sabelski, Sparks, Logan, and Kaslow all a lap down right now. And they are having to split a lap car. That was Kaslow down at the bottom of the speedway. That was a little bit scary to see. That will lose Murphy the race lead and hand it to Feeney and Gardner. But Murphy is very much still in this, but it's still anyone's game for any of these top 5 drivers right now. Murphy staying to the bottom, trying to pick up the draft of Gardner and Feeney, as they are almost touching nose to tail here for the race lead. Just behind is a little bit more disorganized as Hess and Kluge still try to make the top line work. And, I mean, it's not exactly not working. We might need to see that 00 get a bit more of a stronger push out of the 45 to get up to the front of this pack. Now with 4 to go, there's not a whole lot of time to make moves happen if you're going to make something work here. Brandon Feeney being scored as our race leader. Then it's going to be Jason Gardner side by side for Hess and Murphy. Then Kluge back at the tail end of this thing. Of course, Sabelski in that 85 there. Not on the lead track right now, so not a part of this battle. But things are getting heated here in Daytona with 3 laps left to go. Driver's getting a little bit shaky here. Oh, hang on to it, y'all. We're getting a little bit wobbly. Big wibbles out of both the drivers up on the high line as they push with everything they've got to try and take home this checkered flag. But we got 2 laps left to go once we reach it to the line. And as the field sails on by, Feeney thinks about moving up, but he's not clear. Hess is up there. He has to move back down the bottom. Side by side for the race lead with 2 laps left to go here at Daytona. Hess moves down. That was scary to see, but he is going to move down to the front. Now we have a lot of wiggling coming out of Feeney. Gardner thought for a second about going up to the high line and trying to help out up there, but he's going to block Kluge up at the top. We are 3 wide here for second as Jason Gardner's down on the apron for a minute there. Hang on to it, y'all. We just have 2 more corners to get through before the white flag is thrown. Otherwise, we're going to have to go into overtime here if this caution flag does come out. And as we race to the line, so far so good. White flag up in the air. No matter what happens now, there won't be a caution flag. Who knows? It's entirely possible that we see this 5-car battle all get wiped out and Harsty take home the race win or something to that effect. Who really knows? But right now, it's going to be Hess and Feeney. There's contact. Gardner and Kluge together into the outside wall. Gardner is around. Kaslow is around as well. It's now going to be a drag race to the finish between Feeney, Hess, and Murphy. Feeney leads the way. Hess just behind. But I don't know if he's going to be close enough to try and make a move here. I think it might be going to Feeney. He's going to try and go out to the high line. He blocks. Hess moves down to the bottom. They're going down below the apron. They're making contact. Feeney's around. Garrett Hess takes home the race win here at Daytona. Derek Murphy, side by side, 0.05 of a second behind. But Hess manages to take home the race win. Feeney still crosses the line in third. And since Hess is not contesting for the championship whatsoever this season, Feeney will still be the points leader in the championship without really any sort of issue there at all. So we're going to have to go back and look at that last lap again here in just a moment. But before we do, I want to see what sort of celebration we get out of that 0-0 of Garrett Hess. Corset here himself hasn't been running iRacing as a whole in the while, but wanted to come and show up for the Daytona event just because it's Daytona. It's always a fun and exciting race, and I'll tell you what, these drivers put on a heck of a show. I don't think anyone expected tonight to be ending the way that it did. But Garrett Hess is going to take home the win here at Daytona. His first one of the season, and what honestly may very well be his only appearance of the season if I had to guess. But who knows? Either way, checkered flag goes to him. So let's take a look back. We're going to be taking a look back at that final lap here to at least get a look down at those incidents as we had them. So let's jump back to the white flag here. We're going to ride first with Jason Gardner, as Jason, of course, had that incident with Mark Kluge down the back straightaway. And we're going to get a top-down view of this battle. Side by side for Gardner and Kluge. Of course, everyone's getting a little bit squirrely up there at the front of things. And then Gardner just wiggled a little bit too high, got up into the 45. Ends up down in the infield. The 45 keeps it going, albeit way off the pace. And then, of course, up here for the race lead, we have Feeney and Hess. They're wiggling, they're wobbling, they're going all over the place once they come out of turn number 4. Hess goes up high. Feeney moves a little bit. Hess tries to go down low again. Feeney cuts all the way down to the double yellow lines. And then there's contact with Murphy as well. That is when Garrett Hess manages to take home the race win here at Daytona. Now, don't go anywhere, race fans. We will be back here in just a moment. Going to get some words with your top 3 finishers here this evening. Alrighty, race fans, welcome back to Daytona for the Daytona 100 here this season. Heck of a race here tonight. Somehow managed to go caution-free on a plate track, which is always a shocker to see, but still a very thrilling race nonetheless. And up here in the broadcast booth with me in that beautiful WinRAR 00, none other than Mr. Garrett Hess showing up in a one-off appearance and taking home the checkered flag. How are you feeling here this evening?
I'm feeling pretty good, even if I might not be credited with the win of this race. That was pretty fun. I had a pretty good race, I'd say.
Fair enough. I mean, having fun is half the battle sometimes. Did you come into tonight's event thinking that it was going to be a race you'd be winning?
Oh yeah, definitely. I
Fair
thought
enough.
that I thought Gen 4 cars at a plate track. This is my bread and butter right here. I love this combination. Even if you can't push that well, uh, just the runs that you get with these cars is just crazy, and that's what makes it so fun.
Yeah, sure enough. I mean, it seemed like both lines were pretty much neck and neck throughout the entire race here this evening. So, definitely a heck of a show put on by everyone here tonight.
Yeah, I think everyone did good except for those lap cars who were kind of just in the middle of the track doing nothing. Uh, I understand. Maybe it's their first plate race, but when the cars behind you are about 40 miles per hour faster, it's better to just uh, pull off the road. But we came away with the dub. Even if I don't get credit with it, I'm still calling it a dub. I finished. I finished first. I got pinched down. Nothing much I could do. I'm not lifting on the final lap on a plate track for the win.
Fair enough. I mean, everyone put on a heck of a show here this evening. Still a very tiny margin of victory between you and Mr. Derek Murphy. And fortunately, we don't have Derek up here with us, which I think might have been his first podium. So, heck of a run to him as well. I guess the big question for you is, do you have any plans to be showing up for any more races here this season or in the overall 2024 sort of championship thing?
I I might. Really depends on just how I'm feeling. I just did this because it's Daytona. Daytona's fun, and I need to make sure to get iRacing back in working order before I do the Spa 24 this week.
Fair enough. That is kind of a big deal. It might be important to have things working for that a little bit more than a 100-mile race at Daytona.
Yeah, that's true, but the people here are great. I like racing with them. They're real clean. They're real clean guys. So I can't complain, especially with the win. Not too bad. I'd say it's a pretty productive day.
Fair enough. Well, heck of a run here for you tonight. Before I let you sign off and start getting ready for the 24, the microphone is all yours, Mr. Hess. Who do you want to thank for making everything happen here tonight?
Well, I'd like to thank Team Watson Racing, best crew on the planet. Everfrost fans forever. Everfrost for making the best music on the planet. WinRAR, the greatest extraction for RAR, zip, and other types of file formats. And my boss for giving me the opportunity to work and make money so I can support myself.
Good deal. Well, thank you for coming out here tonight. Congrats on the win here this evening, and hopefully we can see you out here sometime again soon.
Yes, sir.
And finishing back in position number 2 here, did finally manage to get him up here in the broadcast booth. It is none other than Mr. Derek Murphy, who has had the run of the century here this season. Probably the best qualifying spot you've had all this season, followed up by a runner-up finish by just an absolutely tiny margin. Derek, how are you feeling here this evening?
Feeling pretty good actually. I don't know. I wasn't sure how that last lap was gonna turn out. I was at the back of that group. Once a couple of them got together, and I had that gap to the remaining two, I felt like that my run would be good enough coming out of four to make a try to get around the outside. Got a little block, came down, got blocked again, went high, and then I don't know what happened in the front there. I guess the two got together, and well, second place is good with me.
Fair enough. I mean, you led laps here tonight, so you're going to be getting bonus points for that. And you spent the entire race battling it out for the race lead. So, all in all, I would say that's a pretty successful evening. Do you think Well, I guess the better way to phrase that is, what do you think might have had to have gone different for you to be taking home that checkered flag tonight?
Uh, I don't know. I think maybe just on that last lap, um, maybe I just need to just let it go on the, just hold where I was. I think I maybe pulled out a little too early. So I don't know. If I had waited a little bit longer, maybe I could have seen what was coming, and maybe could have timed the run a little better.
Fair enough. Well, you've still been doing pretty decently solid here in the last couple of seasons, so walking away with a podium finish here tonight, definitely going to give you a nice little boost in the points here this evening. Heading on next week into Chicagoland, though, do you think that's a track where you might be looking at another solid finish?
I'm actually not going to be around next week. I'm away with the family, so I'll have to be back the following week, whatever track we're at after that.
Let's see. It's look like next week after that, it's going to be New Hampshire.
No, okay, hometown track, kind of, sort of, not really.
Fair enough. I mean, sometimes you have the kind of sort of not really home track advantage. It might just work out for you.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll see you then.
Fair enough. Before I let you sign out, though, of course, the microphone's all yours, Mr. Murphy. Who do you want to thank for making everything happen here tonight?
I just want to thank the league as a whole, you and everybody else who helps make this happen. My family for giving me a little bit of time at night to do these races.
Good deal. Well, thank you for coming out here tonight. Congratulations on the incredibly solid run here this evening. And while we won't see you at Chicago next week, I look forward to seeing y'all over at New Hampshire. Let's see here. So finishing back in position number 3, going to be Mr. Brandon Feeney. He is active down in the garage. I don't know if he's particularly happy, but we'll see if we can't try and get some words from him here this evening. If not, we might just have to send it off for the evening. We shall see. No, we've got him up here in the broadcast booth. It just took a little bit of bribery. We've got him up here, Mr. Brandon Feeney. Hi, hello. Heartbreaking finish here tonight, first of all, but a very solid run overall, and you're still the championship points leader, so you've got that going for you. How are you feeling here tonight?
I'm a little annoyed to get turned by a guy that's underneath the line. That's probably going to get repercussions for being underneath the line making the pass. So congrats to Derek to actually running clean and staying above the line.
Fair enough. Yeah, I was just talking to Derek. Probably one of the most solid performances we've seen out of him all of this season, and a very solid points boost for him here in the standings. But of course, tonight it was kind of crazy all throughout here this evening. What, I don't know. I mean, is there anything that could have gone different there to have gotten the checkered flag other than just not having bad luck with getting touched by the car behind you?
Oh, it just shows that when I made a clean pass and 1 and 2, I should have just turned him in the wall and not worried about anyone else.
Fair enough. I mean, I just work here. I can't do anything about that. I'm just here. You still got a podium though. You've got that going for you. Somehow, despite all the incidences we had tonight, we didn't have any cautions. There was some crazy kerfuffle on pit road. I don't know what the hell was going on down there, but we're still here. We've got a podium tonight. Setting your sights forward next week to Chicagoland. Do you think that's a track you might be potentially taking home a win at?
Probably not. You know me, I'm just here for the good times and shenanigans. And if we win, we win. If not, you got some guys like Benjamin that have some absolute raw speed. That are super fast in these cars, and I'm kind of like the best of the mid pack, and I think that's what's been helping me. So, but yeah, we played some pit strategy where I called pitting late, so a few guys weren't prepared and they missed pit road, and it was working in my favor. And yeah, kind of was hoping we'd string out and kind of leave everybody else behind, decide between the 3 of us that came off pit road, but they caught back up, and yeah, shenanigans.
Shenanigans indeed, but I guess that's plate track racing for you. So Chicagoland after this, and then heading to New Hampshire after that. So we don't have to worry about any more big tracks, at least for a little while.
Oh, but the big tracks sometimes are fun because you just hold it wide open and have no time.
Well, at least after that you have Pocono and then Indianapolis. So maybe things will work out for you there, if nothing else.
Well, maybe. If not, well, I think this is actually a streak of podiums we've been on now. So we'll just keep it up and see if we can keep, I don't want to say championship hopes alive, but keep the good runs alive, but see what happens.
Seems like a solid plan to me. But for now, I won't keep you here all night, Mr. Feeney. You got stuff to do that isn't playing fake video games on the internet. So for now, the microphone is all yours. Who do you want to thank for making everything happen here tonight?
I want to thank you for hosting the broadcast because, busy with your work schedule and stuff like that when you can actually sneak out and come deal with us. And then thank the ASRC guys for hosting. Obviously, got to thank Liquid Molly for helping me with the real car and the sim car. And then if people want to go check out my podcast, The Feeney Call, or check out on the Feeney Call, we also have been doing race photos and stuff like that. So we've called that the Feeney Call Photography. So if you want to see some cool real life racing photos, go check it out.
Good deal. Well, thank you for coming out here tonight. Heck of a run here this evening. And I hope to see you next week out at Chicagoland.
Good night, little buddy.
You heard it here first, race fans. Your top 3 finishers here tonight. Not without a little bit of conflict, but quite the crazy race here this evening. It's going to be Garrett Hess, Derek Murphy, Brandon Feeney, your top 3 finishers here this evening. But how about we take a look down at your other drivers here tonight? Of course, your top 3 weren't the only ones out here on the racetrack. Back in fourth, going to be that 45 branded entry of Mark Kluge, followed by league admin Jason Gardner in at the number 93, rounding out the top 5 here this evening. Back in sixth, going to be the 09 of Benjamin Harsty, followed by the 85 of Brian Sabelski. Back in seventh, Daniel Sparks in the 4, back in 8th. Corey Logan in the 24, back in 9th, with John Calzo in the number 2, back in 10th. Joshua Rudolph in the K9P 188, rounding out the tail end of the field here this evening. So that's just all we got here from Daytona. It was one crazy race here tonight. Next week, heading on over to Chicagoland for, I believe, the first time in league history, if I am not mistaken. So that should be one interesting race as some of these drivers try to tackle a track that they may have not ever been to before. For now, though, thank you all for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing y'all next week. Have a good evening,